For decades, China has dominated global manufacturing, but almost overnight, India has quietly engineered $400 billion in a play to tip the balance. From luring companies like Apple with huge cash incentives to building the world's most ambitious trade corridor linking Asia to Europe, India is laying groundwork that could rip supply chains out of China's grip. The world sees border tensions, but the real economic war has just begun. So how did India pull off the first move nobody thought possible? India's production-linked incentive (PLI) schemes marked a sharp break from past industrial policy. Launched in 2020, PLI offers direct cash rewards to companies that move manufacturing to India and boost local output. The formula is straightforward. For every extra dollar of goods produced above a set baseline, the government pays a percentage back in cash. In mobile phones, the flagship sector, companies receive 6% of incremental sales for the first 2 years, then 5%, 4%, and 3% in the following years. The baseline is 2019. Firms must make significant new investments and hit annual sales targets. Miss those and the subsidy disappears. The structure is designed to make India a compelling alternative for companies weighing the costs of leaving China. The largest payouts arrive when firms are building new factories, training workers, and setting up supply chains. As operations stabilize, the support tapers off, pushing companies toward independence. PLI covers 14 sectors, from electronics and IT hardware to auto parts, batteries, and solar modules. The government's committed outlay stands at roughly $26 to $30 billion, but the ripple effect is even larger. Over $100 billion in private investment has followed. The strategy is simple: take on the early risk and global manufacturers will come. Apple stands out as the headline example. After COVID lockdowns and supply chain disruptions in China, Apple's contract manufacturers Foxconn, Wistron, and Pegatron expanded rapidly in India. By 2025, about 20% of global iPhone production was taking place in India, up from almost nothing just a few years before. Apple's Indian output now exceeds $7 billion a year, with most iPhones shipped to Europe and the US. Every iPhone assembled in Chennai or Bengaluru above the 2019 baseline earns Apple's partners a direct payout from New Delhi, tens of millions of dollars in the first year alone. The same incentives are reshaping laptops, tablets, and auto components. For IT hardware, PLI offers 3 to 5% cash back with higher rates for local sourcing. In electric vehicles and advanced auto parts, incentives can reach 18% for cutting-edge technology. Factories that once supplied the world from China now rise in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Noida, each one tied to PLI-driven targets and rewards. These subsidies demand real change. Companies must build, hire, and meet ambitious targets year after year. If they fall short, the money stops. If they succeed, the rewards are immediate and substantial. For India, this is a high-stakes bet to redraw the global manufacturing map. A new economic corridor is emerging, reshaping the map of global trade. On September 9, 2023, during the G20 summit in New Delhi, India and its partners signed a Memorandum of Understanding for the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, known as IMEC. The plan is sweeping, connecting India's manufacturing heartlands to Europe with a chain of upgraded ports, railways, and logistics hubs that stretch from the western coast of India across the Arabian Peninsula and into the Mediterranean. Early estimates put the investment at nearly $200 billion, a figure that signals ambitions on par with China's Belt and Road. The corridor's design is both tactical and adaptive. Ports like Mundra and Jawaharlal Nehru are scaling up, readying for a wave of outbound shipments. Indian goods would travel by sea to the UAE, where Jebel Ali and Khalifa Port link directly to the Etihad rail network. Freight then moves across Saudi Arabia through Jordan and into Israel, reaching Mediterranean ports such as Haifa and Ashdod. From there, smaller vessels carry cargo to Europe. The approach is modular, blending existing infrastructure with new high-speed rail and digital upgrades to streamline bottlenecks. IMEC is more than a shortcut. Current routes from Mumbai to Rotterdam via the Suez Canal can take up to 20 days. With IMEC's intermodal system, that journey could be cut by 40%, according to government and industry projections. For India, this means products made under the production-linked incentive schemes, such as smartphones, auto components, and solar panels, could reach European buyers in nearly half the time. The corridor sidesteps the Suez and the Red Sea, reducing the risk of delays from geopolitical disruptions. But the corridor's promise depends on what happens inside India. The National Infrastructure Pipeline, called the NIP, launched in 2019, encompasses over 7,000 projects to modernize roads, railways, ports, and logistics parks. With a projected outlay topping $1 trillion by 2025, the NIP connects inland factories in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Noida to the coast, ensuring they are wired into global supply chains. As these links mature, logistics costs are expected to fall, sharpening India's edge in export markets. IMEC's coalition includes governments, development banks, and private logistics firms from the UAE, Saudi Arabia, the EU, and the US. The corridor is both a physical route and a signal. India is positioning itself as a new bridge between Asia and Europe. India's digital playbook is rewriting the rules of economic influence. At the heart of this strategy sits India Stack, a suite of open, public digital platforms that began as tools for domestic growth and now reach far beyond the country's borders. Aadhaar, the world's largest biometric ID system, anchors the stack. Paired with the Unified Payments Interface, UPI, it allows instant cashless transactions for hundreds of millions. What started as a way to bring banking to rural villages has become a blueprint for digital economies worldwide. In recent years, dozens of countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East have begun piloting parts of India Stack. Some have signed memorandums of understanding to adapt UPI for their own payment rails. Others are exploring DigiLocker for digital documents or using Indian authentication systems to streamline government services. This quiet export of digital infrastructure gives India a kind of soft power that is hard to match with ports or railways alone. The numbers tell the story. Since 2019, India's domestic data center capacity has grown by 139%, reaching 1.4 gigawatts in 2025. This surge is driven by both public investment and a wave of private capital from global tech giants. As more countries adopt Indian digital standards, the value of these networks multiplies. Unlike physical goods, digital exports scale instantly, crossing borders without customs or tariffs. For policymakers in New Delhi, every new UPI pilot abroad is a step toward making Indian software the backbone of emerging economies, an intangible yet powerful counterweight to China's digital reach. The Quad, an alliance of the United States, Japan, Australia, and India, anchors India's economic ambitions, pooling influence to counterbalance China's dominance in Asia. Infrastructure funding flows not from a single source, but through a web of national budgets, sovereign wealth funds such as the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority and the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, and export credit agencies from Japan and the United States. This decentralized structure offers flexibility, but it leaves projects exposed to shifting government priorities and inconsistent funding. No single actor guarantees the agenda, and gaps are inevitable. India's aspirations face hard numbers. In 2025, the trade deficit with China reached $99.2 billion, underscoring deep reliance on Chinese imports, especially electronics, solar equipment, and machinery. Manufacturing's share of gross domestic product remained under 14%, little changed despite a decade of Make in India policies. Even as global supply chains shift, India's ability to step into China's role is limited by skill shortages, regulatory hurdles, and slow-moving logistics reforms. Quad investments, while significant, only partially address these structural constraints. External shocks complicate the picture. The United States imposed a 50% tariff on Indian exports in 2025, citing trade reciprocity and sanctions over Russian oil, forcing India to scramble for new markets and accelerate reforms. Meanwhile, China's vulnerabilities, including slowing growth, demographic shifts, and Western technology restrictions, have made it more sensitive to supply chain risks. Yet China's manufacturing scale and infrastructure remain unmatched, making rapid displacement unlikely. The Quad's infrastructure push, ambitious in scope, is ultimately hemmed in by funding realities, trade imbalances, and the enduring weight of China's industrial base. India's $400 billion vision is a marathon, not a sprint, shaped as much by global headwinds as by collective resolve. Today, global supply chains are shifting in real time. Over $15 billion in manufacturing has already moved from China to India. As economic power rebalances, every product, job, and investment is touched. The map of global influence is redrawing itself. What side of history will you choose to watch from?